What exactly did J-Hope say to Jin after that unforgettable moment of victory? Why was the entire army suddenly silent? And how can one sentence from Jin on live actually reveal a secret plan that makes Jimin stare at him without blinking? Something was hidden, and now it's all coming to light. But are we really ready to hear what Jin has in store for the BTS members? What did J-Hope say to Jin after the victory? The army is silent. Have you ever felt as if time stopped just because of one sentence? Have you ever watched a simple live turn into something that left the entire fandom transfixed, devastated, even crying without knowing what to say? That night, thousands of eyes stared at the screen. Thousands of hearts flutter, waiting for the word. Yet one voice, one statement, one whisper, silenced it all. It all started with J-Hope. The victory in question is not just a trophy or trophy. It's more than that. It is an emotional victory, a symbolic victory, a victory that stores years of unspoken wounds, struggles, sacrifices, and love. As the camera captured the look of J-Hope's trembling yet firm eyes, and Jin, who had just emerged with warm energy after such a long time, something felt different. And one expected that the live, which was initially thought to be a simple form of celebration, would become the most emotional reveal in BTS's history after the enlistment period began. When J-Hope looked at Jin, her smile wasn't as usual. He said, softly but piercingly, "Hyung, do you remember what you whispered to me that night before the victory stage?" And the genie, who is usually quick to respond with a joke or a smile, was just silent. At first glance, the look in his eyes implied fear. Or could it be a burden? Then, in a barely audible voice, Jin said, "You remember that too? I didn't expect you to discuss it here." What exactly did Jin whisper that night to J-Hope? Why was the army instantly silent, holding its breath? And why did Jimin, who had just laughed a little while reading the comments, suddenly look so stiff and confused? What many people don't know is that, before Jin entered the military, he had expressed a wish. Wishes that are not written, not officially announced, not encoded in any song. The wish is pronounced only once. Backstage. On J-Hope. And now, after so many months, that desire is lifted back to the surface. J-Hope looked at the screen and said to the soldiers, Hyung said that if this is the last victory before he leaves, then he wants to come back with something that will make everyone cry. Not because they are sad, but because they feel loved. The speech created an atmosphere of silence. Even Jin himself looked speechless, looked at the table, then said slowly, "I didn't know you still remember. But yeah, I prepared a song. One song. Not for the fans, not for HYB, but for you guys. My member. My friends." Is this the real reason why Jin was so silent in the previous few live? Is this also the reason why she looked so much more emotional in her last photo shoot? Even though she tried to hide her tiredness, the song that Jin prepared was not an ordinary song. The song was written in the middle of the night, when all the members were separated. When he was alone in the dorm and think about one by one the memories they had gone through. The lyrics mention their names without direct mention, but the meaning is clear. He writes about Taehyung's warmth, RM's assertiveness, J-Hope's antics, Jimin's gentleness, Jungkook's strength, and his longing for Suga. Jin said, "I don't want the song to be big. I just want us to sing it together when we're all reunited. That's all. But I'm not sure I could hold back the tears if that happened." Then suddenly, Jimin, who had been looking stunned, opened his voice in a half-trembling tone. "Hyung, why didn't you tell us before? Why only now? I don't even know what to say." And the surprise is not only that. J-Hope added, because that night of victory, Hyung said that maybe this is the last time he can hug us all before things change. The speech tore the hearts of all who heard it. Comments immediately exploded. Soldiers from various countries wrote, "Jin, we're not ready to cry tonight. Why are you so nice? Please don't make this feel like a goodbye." Jin smiled, even though his eyes were glazed over. He said, "There is no separation. There will be a time to meet. But before that, I want you to know that I've been thinking about this song ever since we said goodbye that night. And even if you forget, I don't. The question now is, will this song ever be released to the public? Or will it just be a sacred song that only the 7 BTS members know? Will this be the start of something bigger? Or is this a sign that Jin is ready to leave the stage and just wants to come back as seokjin, not BTS's Jin anymore? The ARMY's reaction was mixed. Some hope that the song will be released as part of their reunion album later. He said, "If it is for members, then let only those who know. We've had enough of this one story." The most touching was J-Hope's expression at the end of the live. He looked at Jin with a slight smile and said, "Hyung, you have no idea how precious that moment is to us. Even if the world forgets us, we will never forget you. That song will be a legacy no one can buy." Is this a sign that there will be something big when they reunite later? Whether the song will be a symbol of unity, memories, or a tender farewell, one thing is for sure: the night was not just a celebration. It was a confession, a silent recognition of how deeply the 7 boys bond that has now become a living legend. And for Jin, it's not just about being an idol, but about being a brother, a best friend, a silent protector who keeps everything in the laughter and jokes that we often take for granted. But behind the joke, who would have thought that there was one song that could make all the members, including Jimin and J-Hope, speechless? The question is, are we really ready to hear it? But what happened after the live ended was much more emotional than what was seen on camera. An internal source, who did not want to be named, said that the atmosphere in the waiting room after the live was completely quiet. Jimin sat with his head bowed for a long time, while J-Hope came out first without saying much. Jin himself, despite having shown composure during the live, seemed to be looking at the phone screen for quite a long time, either reading the comments or just trying to understand what he had just opened before the world. What makes this moment so heart-wrenching for the ARMY? Probably because all realized that it was not just a song that was being talked about there, but also time, memories, and fear. Yes, the fear of the possibility that time will never be enough to pay for all the longing that has accumulated during parting, and the next few live performances by other members, such as Jungkook and RM. The ARMY could clearly see the change in atmosphere. There was no direct mention of the Song of the Jin, but the look in their eyes and choice of words contained a small hint that something was indeed being prepared. Jungkook even said in one of his live clips, "I don't know when we'll all get together again, but if it happens, there will be something you don't expect." That sentence, followed by a small smile that harbors a mystery, makes speculation even wilder. One theory among fans is that Jin's song is not just about memories, but also a form of confession, an open musical letter that discusses conflicts, petty quarrels, even past tensions that may never be known to the public. Is that true? If we look back at the history of BTS, they are not a group that is free from pressure. Behind the laughter they often show, hidden stories of friction, doubt, even the feeling of wanting to give up. And Jin, as one of the oldest members, shouldered more than he showed. Another source close to the production staff revealed that in the lyrics of the song, which has not yet been officially published, there are phrases such as, "If I go first, remember me not as the oldest, but as the one most afraid of losing you." This line alone is enough to make anyone who loves BTS feel suffocated. And what is more surprising? The song will be recorded in just one session, without repetition, without overproduction, only with their voices.
Pure.
How they felt at the time. Another no less surprising news came from the management of HYB itself. Several insiders revealed that Jin has requested that this song not be released on major platforms such as Spotify or Apple Music. He wanted the song to be released first, if it had to be through a private live broadcast when all the members had returned from the ARMY. Just once.
Just one time.
After that, it's up to them, he said. Of course, this invites a lot of emotional questions. Why is the genie so fiercely guarding the intimacy of this song? Is it because he feels he has given too much to the public and this time he just wants something for themselves? Or is there a side of him that fears that if this song is heard by the world, he will feel too naked, too exposed? Another jarring question arises for music watchers and the K-pop fandom. Will this song be the final tie-in that holds them together? Or is this precisely a sign that Jin is beginning to prepare for a permanent separation from the entertainment industry? But before that answer comes, we return to the reaction of the members. In a short video circulating from behind the scenes, Jimin looks at Jin with an expression that is difficult to translate. He seemed to want to say something, but held back. After a while, he simply said, "Hyung, you've always been the one pretending to be the most powerful." And maybe that's the whole point of all this. Jin, the oldest, the most awaited moment has finally arrived. After months of curiosity and rumors surrounding the fandom, news of Jin's plans to play his song when they all reunite began to spread. How not, Jin, who has been known as the eldest Hyung, who is always cheerful and entertaining, turns out to carry a message that is much deeper than just lyrics and tone. When all the members finally gathered in a private recording room, the atmosphere was uncharacteristic. There was no thunderous laughter, no free-flowing jokes. Instead, there was a meaningful silence. As if each of them knew, the day was not just about music, but about unraveling the knots of feelings that had been pent up. J-Hope, who is usually energetic, looks a little different. His eyes glazed over as Jin began the song in a soft, soulful voice. Jimin, who had been a vocal line with an open expression, suddenly looked surprised and touched, like getting a very personal secret. When Jin sings the first verse, it's not just an ordinary melody. There is pain, regret, and hope in every word. The lyrics are carefully composed, bringing a story that is rarely publicly told. "Hyung, I don't know what to say," Jimin whispered after the song finished. "I never knew you kept all this alone." J-Hope just nodded. He always wanted us to know, but in his own way. The big question arises, why did Jin choose a time like this to share the song? Is this a statement that they are ready to go through a new round? Or is it just a reminder of how fragile their bond has been? In footage leaked to social media a few hours after the meeting, mixed expressions were seen on the faces of all the members. There is emotion, there is guilt, but there is also a new spirit that ignites. As if Seokjin became a bridge for them to fix what was once cracked, Jungkook, who is usually quiet, opened his voice for the first time. "I don't think this is just a song. This is a promise." What promise? Exactly? A promise to stay together, or a promise to keep fighting despite changing circumstances. Armies around the world began to associate the song with a hidden message about BTS's future. Will they continue to walk together, or will this be the starting point for a big change? More surprisingly, in a short Q&A session after the song was finished, Jin honestly admitted that the song was also his apology to the other members, specifically J-Hope and Jimin, for the tension and difficult moments they had experienced together. "Sometimes I'm too stubborn to think about everything myself," said Jin softly, "but I hope this song can be a substitute for words that I have not had time to say." J-Hope and Jimin's very emotional reaction, even to tears, made fans wonder, have they been holding the same feeling all this time? And is this song the key to the healing they've been looking for? ARMY was not only made speechless, but also touched and inspired. Many say the song is a true reflection of BTS' journey, not just from the standpoint of success and fame, but also from their most pure and vulnerable side of humanity. But not the ARMY if there are no controversial questions. Some fans began to question, is this really a reconciliation or just a show to preserve the image? Was the conflict ever really resolved, or was it just hidden behind song lyrics and tearful expressions? Music critics also shared their opinions, saying that the song is very different from BTS's previous work, deeper and introspective. However, they also asked if this was a sign that BTS is entering the final leg of their musical journey as a group. Meanwhile, Jin himself has not yet given an official statement about what the song means to him personally. He simply uploaded a photo of their hands all holding each other with a short caption, "For us, who are always together." The sentence, despite its simplicity, caused an incessant wave of speculation. Is this a sign that even though they are currently far apart,